and bringing up all those second places. It's awesome. Which brings me to the training, and it's gone really well. Preparation's been good, and I think I've built really great momentum from 2012 through to this race, and hopefully it will be the breakthrough race. Hopefully I can break the tape and get that winner title on there, so that'd be nice.
And Luke made his marathon debut in New York in 2014, less than auspicious, I think, at 2:28. Came back and ran 2:10:24 at the Chicago Marathon in 2015 to place 5th. He not only was the top American finisher at that race, but that was the fastest time by an American last year. And he enters this race as the number 3 seed. He also enters the race, I believe, as the tallest man in the field. Luke, same question to you. Please talk a little bit about how you feel coming into Saturday.
I feel... Is it on? Okay. Just making sure. I feel good. You know, just got in here with my wife and baby, so it's good to have them. This will be the first meet that my daughter's able to be here at. I don't know if she'll remember, but yeah, training's been good and just pretty relaxed. And first things first after Chicago was kind of just to digest it and make sure that I was healthy coming into this one. And so took a little bit of you know, a mental downtime and kind of let the body get back together until coming back into the full swing of training, and everything's been good. So.
Has training and racing changed at all now that you're a dad of a baby?
Training for sure. I mean, you know, I think I kind of got in a bad habit of, you know, just if something didn't go wrong, not holding myself accountable and saying, okay, well, this went wrong because of this, or this went wrong because of someone else. But, you know, I wake up in the morning, you know, play with my daughter, hang out with my wife, and, you know, I'll go and train. And when I'm at the track, you know, it's 3 or 4 hours, you know, of hard stuff, and making sure that I'm doing everything I need to do in training and being professional about it and still enjoying the process. And then, you know, I come home and have lunch with my wife, feed my daughter, try to get her to take a nap for 3 to 4 hours while she goes to work. So I think that it's a good balance. You know, my wife has a tennis background, and she's a tennis pro at, in Eugene, and so it's kind of good kind of having her have that as well, and me taking some of the responsibility. So.
And I know someone will ask this, but names of your wife and your daughter. First names only.
Trudy's my wife, and then Penelope's the daughter.
Great. So. And Desi, we had a teleconference with you several weeks back, and you talked a bit then about kind of, you almost view your running careers, 2 different careers, kind of pre and post 2012 and 2013. Could you talk a little bit about that?
Sure. I think they're actually fairly similar in terms of building momentum and making steady progress and taking little chunks out of my marathon time every time out. Obviously 2012 was a huge setback, and I think one of the hardest parts about the injury was sort of forgetting where I was, because that wasn't, I mean, that was just going to set me back in the comeback process. When you think about how high you were and the things you were achieving and the times you were hitting, those weren't doable at that time, so it was kind of, you have to shelf that and start over, and then just appreciate all the little steps and the little successes along the way. That was super difficult, because you want to look at yourself as a Boston runner-up or a 2:22 marathoner, and you go and have a really good day, and maybe you look like a 2:26 girl, and you're like, you should be really proud of that, but it's difficult when you look at your past achievements. So it was really the breaking point. Okay, I'm a new runner, this is a fresh start, and let's find out where I'm at, and then build from there. And so, you know, that 2012 point was certainly the dividing line between the 2 careers, I think.
And your mentioning of 2:26 kind of inspires a question for both of you. What do you guys think it's going to take to make the team here on Saturday? And you don't need to necessarily specify a time, but what type of race, like, what do you think it's going to take to make this team?
Go first. I mean, I think it's closing well. I don't know what time it will be. The heat's going to obviously play a part. It's handling that last 10K and being able to finish a marathon and not really just hanging on and getting in. It's going to be able to, you have to be able to close well over the last 10K.
And Luke, what about for you?
I think that you kind of, I guess going into it, I agree with that as well, as it's going to be you know, the type of shape that you get yourself into and how well you're prepared to finish at the end, because it is a championship style race, and the heat is going to make it more, whether it makes it more tactical or not, I think it's going to be, you know, a huge, you know, no, I don't think someone's going to try to run away early, but if they do, you have to be ready for that. So you have to be ready for everything, and, you know, that being said, I think it's going to take definitely like a 208 effort. I think I really respect the field, and I know the number 210's been thrown around a lot, but I think it's going to be faster. Like the effort-wise, it's going to be like that kind of shape to get into it.
All right, we will open it for questions from the media. Yep, right in front.
Can you talk about the heat and how that changes things? It's going to be really warm on Saturday. How does that affect physical mental preparation?
I mean, I think you have to understand what your fitness level is and then make the necessary adjustments. It will impact the times. I'm super fortunate to be with Hanson's Brooks, we went down to Florida as a group for 6 weeks and had plenty of 72+ degree days where we're out there doing workouts. So hopefully it's not as big of a factor for us. I feel confident that we are pretty well prepared for it, but 80s, you still need to make adjustments. So we'll do that when we know the exact temperatures.
Yeah, I guess going into it, like Desi said, is the training that you do, and just try to prepare yourself as well as possible. You know, I think a lot of it comes into the toughness, and some of it probably will be more of a mental head game with different, and you try to not make it that. You know, I stayed in Eugene, Oregon, and just turned the thermostat in my house up to 80, so hopefully it's 80. And, you know, I overdo everything, so when they said it was going to be 75, I was like, all right, I'm going to put this thing at 80. I'm going to wear as many layers as I can while I'm training inside. My wife was very, she didn't enjoy it as much as I did, so.
Ambi.
I do quite a bit of cycling in my training, just to flush the legs out and stuff. I think that's probably the difference that I have maybe between a lot of the other people is I do all of my mileage in singles, and then I'll just come back in the afternoon with biking. And so I do the biking when it was hot with a lot of the, not to give away any secrets or anything, I wouldn't recommend it to anybody else. I think there was some times it was kind of stupid, but if you're gonna be dumb, or if you're gonna be dumb, you gotta be tough, right?
Here in front.
You guys, your thoughts on Los Angeles as a host city? You know, it's hosted twice. It's going to try to host again. Just your thoughts on that.
Go ahead.
I think the biggest thing with why I think it was a good place to host for this one is that, you know, the whole point of this weekend is to try to find the 3 best Americans to represent at the Olympics. And if I'm not one of the top 3, then I don't feel like I feel like the other person should go, right? So, and that being said, it's hot here. It's going to be hot and humid in Rio. So I think, you know, you try to figure out who's going to be the best team. So.
David.
The United States remains the only country that is a cutthroat Olympic trust to pick the national team. People seem to really still support it, even though other countries say it's a crazy idea. What is your personal feeling about the trials over another way to select a team?
I love it. I think it's what it's all about. It's the competition. You know, you have the favorites on paper and the names that sound exciting, but really on the day you have to show up and be ready. It's a great, fair system. It's a cruel system because you have to be 100%. You have to be ready to go here, and then you have to regroup and be better for the next one. So I wouldn't want it any other way. It's fair, but it can be cruel, I suppose.
And Luke, what about you?
I agree with it. I think, you know, just from being around the marathon, you know, in Chicago and hearing some of the guys talk about this selection in Ethiopia and Kenya, and people really not knowing who was going to do what, and Wesley Career saying that when he won Boston, he thought he was going to go. And so I think that, and that's the thing too, is I think a championship style race is a lot different than a time trial type race, and You know, some people can run some fast times, but like I said, I think you want to get the best people to race there. So.
And from USA Track and Field's perspective, this is a topic that comes up every quadrennium. And ultimately, it comes down to the notion that we feel that athletes are the best people to select the team rather than administrators. And that's what the athletes do, is they select themselves to the team. One right in front.
There are several ways that you can hold a marathon. You'll start at one place and then another, or start at the end at the same place, or what we're going to do on Saturday is having several loops. What are your thoughts about the different ways and the advantages and disadvantages of the loop format points that will be running on Saturday?
I like the setup. I think it's great for spectators and just getting a big crowd in a single place. For the athletes, mentally, personally, it's a great way to break down a marathon and just kind of focus on each segment. You can learn that course a lot quicker. You go out to a Boston and you have to spend 3-4 days running the course and try to figure out a little intricacies on the course. Here you can come in and do a couple runs on it and cover the distance and understand it pretty quickly. So I think those are big advantages. I'm not opposed to a different way, but I like the loop course personally.
Yeah, I like, well, actually it really doesn't matter to me. Usually in a marathon, it's different. You know, I think looking back, I've spent, I have family in Chicago, and so I know like some of the different parts. And I couldn't tell you during the race where we were at any point. It's just one of those things when, you're in the zone and you're going, I don't think that it matters if you're doing loops or if it's one side or the other. And I think that Desi brought up a good point that, I think the biggest thing is to get the fans excited about, coming out and being able to see this and being able, not to say, oh, well, I'm only going to see these people once. I might as well just watch it on TV, and it's going to be louder because of that.
Larry?
Desi, in the press conference, I believe in November, December, we were teasing you a little bit, and you said that your last 10 or 12 weeks of training, you were focusing on the unsexy stuff. Can you explain to us what the unsexy stuff is in the last 10 or 12 weeks of training?
I don't want to, but no. It's, I mean, that's just the grind. It's the 125-mile weeks. It's being ridiculously tired and wanting to fall asleep in your soup, and but getting the fuel in and going to bed at 9:30 and waking up at 6, and it's the process. It's not pretty. It doesn't sell well. No one really wants to see that because it's just it's a ugly life, I'd say. But you do it and you buy into it and you believe in it because you know that on race day you've gone through the whole thing and you're prepared, and that's how you get ready for it, and then you can go out and show it all off, because I think the finishing product is pretty sexy.
Tony, did you have a question?
Right, both you guys, I mean, in 2008 trials, New York hosted for the men and Boston for the women, and then in Houston it was double, and here again it's double. How do you guys each feel about the trials together as opposed to having a separate one for the women where you're the center of attention other than Luke, the man on your side? Or does it make any difference whatsoever?
I think it's cool that it is combined. Being able to, I wasn't there for the 2008 one. I was fortunate enough to be in Houston during the 2012 one. Just the different energy and stuff that you see, and I mean, if maybe someone's more of a women's marathon fan and they're going to come out for that, and because of that I'm going to get cheered on. So, or maybe the other way around. So I think it makes it so that people can. I think it's hard enough in the U.S. for people to come out to these sorts of events. It's where it's not a basketball or football. So if they can do it all at once, that's okay with me.
Desi, did you? 'Cause you've done both, right? You've
Yeah,
done separate races.
yeah, I have. I mean, I don't think 2 really great days for our sport is a bad thing. I don't know that there's a ton of people who might not show up because it's a women's only race. Would this room be smaller because it's women's only? I don't know. So if you have 2 different opportunities to get a bunch of media and excitement around the sport and get 2 races on TV, it's just an extra day of publicity for our sport. I don't know what the numbers are for people who watch it. I don't know if that goes up or down, but 2 days is great. And I'm a fan of the sport, so I love to watch the men's race too. So for selfish reasons, I would like to watch the men's.
And actually, one of the reasons why the combined race does work so well is it enables NBC to cover it live, whereas to cover two different races live, it's an entirely different both economic and broadcast time slot model as well. So that's one of the upsides of it. Come over here.
Just the news of the virus in Rio, has it become something the athletes are starting to talk about? Is it a concern? How much out there is that for you as that being a destination success?
I'm super dialed in on LA, so unless Sika's in LA, I haven't paid too much attention to it.
Yeah, I'm the same thing. I think you have to make it there first, and then assess, I guess, the safety and that sort of stuff. But not really. Haven't really read too much. I don't really have time to read into that kind of stuff, to be honest with you. So.
Because you're running, cycling, and are falling asleep in your suit, right? Larry.
Speaking of economics, getting sponsors for athletes is a fairly difficult thing. Luke, you were supported by the RCA, which is a scholar, Rhodes Scholar. Support. How did that help you as you were trying to juggle the sponsorships?
Yeah, that was big for me. I think the Rhodes Scholars, I think I'm indebted to them, and I really think, you know, where I was at in my career, you know, it's not just the money that you're getting in the economics, but it's a sense of appreciation, you know, that, you know, for me, being a man, it was hard to watch my wife working full-time, being pregnant, right? And I was out here running around, I felt like, you know, it was almost like she was supporting my hobby. And so, you know, and to go to some of the meets, I was having to dip into what she was making. And so it made it so that I kind of felt like I was doing it on my own, at least at that point.
And just for clarity, is this your wife and baby?
Yeah, they're back
All
there.
right. All right. All right, Ryan, in front.
Desi, you said you had to stop thinking about yourself as a 222 Boston runner-up during that time and kind of start over. Since that time, coming into this weekend, how do you view yourself now? Who's Desi as a marathoner?
It's a good question. Hopefully can reassess after Saturday and be an Olympian and, you know, U.S. champion. That would be fantastic. But I think I'm still chipping away at getting to the upper echelons of the sport, and I have work to do, and I'm still trying to make those baby steps forward. Obviously, Boston and New York were both really big days for me, so I feel like I'm in that position where I'm threatening to be a threat, and you know, I want to keep chipping away at that and be a threat every race I go to at least be in the top three, maybe one to get a win.
Let's start with Luke, but a question for both of you. What do you consider to be your strength coming into this race this weekend? What's going to be that thing that gets you on the team?
I think the harder the race is, the better for me. I know that it's hard to say there's a lot of guys with good track speed, but sometimes it doesn't correlate. You know, you run 26 miles, who cares if you can run the last 400, and usually the last 400 is probably running, you know, 80 seconds because you're throwing your arms up in there, right? So I think that it's kind of just to go out and compete and, you know, have, you know, a tough effort for me, so.
And Desi, what's your strength this weekend right now?
I think just that my coaches and their knowledge of the event and their preparation is so meticulous and dialed in. I just take a lot of confidence from that. We have a big group with Hanson's Brooks, and we've all been logging the mileage and doing the work, and you see the results in the workouts. So when you have your bad days, you can look to your teammates and go, okay, well, everyone else is still on. They still look fresh. I'm going to come around. So it's the group and the coaches and the knowledge that they have, and you know, I think as a group, we're pretty ready to go. So I feel confident in that.
Sure.
Tony?
I know it's hard to assess, but guys, based on your past performances, where are you on the percentages? Are you 90%, 100%? Where are you percentage-wise, top form that you've ever been in the past for a marathon effort?
I mean, I'll go on from 2012 to now. I think I'm well ahead of my qualifier 223 Boston I guess that was 2014. I don't think I'm quite as fit as I was in 2015 Boston, but I'm significantly closer to that. I think it was kind of a calculated risks preparation where, you know, I don't need to be 100% for this if it's going to cause me to get hurt. So 95 is good if I'm healthy and feeling fresh. So somewhere in that ballpark, I guess.
Thanks. Luke?
I'd say for me, I think, you know, I've gone through periods where I ran workouts that I still look back at and I think, man, like that was a really good workout. And I try to compare myself to then, but honestly, the better I work out, the worse I race. And that's just the way it goes, I think. You know, when you're trying to knock out all these workouts, you're trying to knock out 2 to 3 workouts a week, and you put all your energy into it, more of the mental energy. You can only be dialed in for so long, and so many times in each build-up. So I think in preparedness, it's, you know, the more that I can relax after training and be able to just, you know, put it on the back burner and not use up the fuel of the, you know, the mental fuel of, okay, I'm on. So.
Chris?
When you look back to last year in Chicago, you really took a giant step forward. Then when you look back to the last 3 or 4 years, you know, you've had many ups and downs. What has changed in your mentality or perspective over the last 6 to 8 months that's really put you in a prime spot?
Yeah, I'd say the mentality is, yeah, just that with the workouts. And, you know, a lot of times I'll go into these workouts, and if you have, you know, 8 by mile or 12 by K, and you're worried like, okay, I need to hit this time, or to get into this kind of shape, and if I don't hit this time, then I'm not in this kind of shape. I think just a lot of the indicator workouts that, you know, I followed, you know, religiously, like this is what I need to do, and you lose sleep over it, and like you take the days before easy because you're worried about it, whereas now is this, you know, when I go down to the track, I handle what needs to be handled, and if I start out a little bit slower, then I make the adjustment, I'll run faster at the end, or if I just don't have it that day, not to push through and kind of have the mentality of trying to always prove that I can do it to myself.
Craig? Oh, hold on, we now have the free range mic.
First of all, I want to wish both of you good luck. I've been following your careers and very impressed. Okay, and I was wondering, it's nice to have options. Back in my day, we did not have the trials so early. Our trials were, the marathon were in May, the track trials were in June. You're racing in February, the track trials are in July. Do any of you have plans right now, if you don't make the marathon team, to come back in the 10K, or do any of you have plans that you're going to go ahead and double anyhow, just to see how things go? By the double, I mean the 10K, not the 5.
I kind of hope I'm retired from the track. I mean, I'm putting all my eggs in this basket, and if I have to reevaluate later, I will. But right now, I'm completely focused on the marathon.
I think regardless of what happens on Saturday, I'll go back to the track and just have a shorter track season if I do make the team, and a longer one if I don't, I guess. And I think that the important thing is what I kind of saw was it's good to kind of go back to the track and do, it's something different. You don't get stuck in the same kind of training. You can only, run 120, 130 mile weeks, so many weeks out of the year. And, rather than just take a long extended break, like I did after my first marathon and gain 20 pounds and like all that stuff, I'll go back to the track and try to, refine my skills. And yeah, I'm not gonna be able to close in 52 or whatever you have to close in now to make the team. I think that, I'm humbled to those guys that they're able to do that. And so, but still push myself. So when I'm able to go into these races, the marathons, and it does get tactical, 247 or 248K doesn't feel way too fast. So.
I think we'll take one more question and then break down for some one-on-ones for about 15 minutes. So we'll take 2 more questions from the right. Go ahead.
Luke, how's your marathon training different with Andy versus Alberto?
I get that question a lot, and I think a lot of the training that I do now is Andy's program, but I'll sit down, so after Chicago I sat down and put down the calendar of days. Okay, this day I want to do this workout, this day this, and this. And, you know, I've been working with Andy since 2008, and so I kind of know his system. And then I put it by him, and he usually dials it down, you know, 80% of what I want to do, because I always want to overdo things. And so, you know, at first, when I started getting back into training, I was thinking, okay, I don't want to go back and do this thing. Like, I don't want to be running too many miles, or I don't want to do this workout because I thought it was this. And I kind of had some trouble with that, is that a lot of the stuff I do are the same workouts that I was doing with Alberto, but I'm able to hit the times now. Whereas I just think where I was, you know, mentally and just trying to be dialed in and putting, you know, the 252 or 253K was really hard when I was in Alberto's group, just trying to go through that. And now I'll do the same type of workout and be able to run, you know, 245s and that sort of thing.
Okay, so we're going to take 2 more questions. We're going to go.
So,
So we'll start with Scott.
Luke, hi. So this will be your 3rd marathon in 8 months, and I was wondering if you could talk a bit about what you've done to remain fresh while still building the fitness that you need.
I'll take 2 weeks off. After Chicago, I took 2 weeks off, you know, no running, and just tried to, I think, just regroup mentally. I think that's the biggest thing for me, is that I usually don't have, I'm lucky, knock on wood, not to have a lot of injury problems. You know, I think because of that, I think sometimes in the marathon training that, you know, an injury could be a blessing for some people to kind of scale it back, and it might, you know, let your body recover and stuff. But because of that, if I'm not taking, you know, 1 to 2 days here, 3 days here, at the end of, after I'm done, I have to just take it to recharge. And I mean, even coming into this one, you know, I sat down with Andy Powell, and it was a conversation of, yeah, you need to start training again and start running, but you can only train for so long for this. You can't, you know, 16 weeks for me was almost, that was too long to prepare mentally for this. And so that's why I ran the Houston race, was that you can't obsess, you know, at least I obsess for 11 or 12 weeks for that, and then I can obsess about that, so, for this race.
This really is the last one.
Thank you, Jill. Des, I appreciate what you said about having to not compare yourself to the runner of pre-2012, but I wonder if the memory of how utterly heartbroken and frustrated you were only being able to do the first 2 miles in London, how much that's driven you over the last 4 years.
Thanks. I had almost gotten over that. No, I'm just, no, it's obviously something that has got me out the door every day. As soon as you are back, you know, healthy and running pain-free, it's like I want to replace that experience. I feel like, yeah, I'm an Olympian, but I say it like, yeah, I'm an Olympian. Like, I don't really want to talk to you about it. Like, I would not, that's not something I'm super proud of, is stepping off the course. It was really hard, and it was heartbreaking, and I would like to replace that with a better experience. And if you don't take the setbacks and learn from them and become better from it, it's just a wasted experience. So yeah, it's something that drives me and motivates me, and it's also, you know, if I'm lucky enough to get on the team, it's gonna make me smarter and more intelligent in my approach for this time. And it certainly did, I think, in this trials buildup. I think in, you know, 2012, it was every day, like, I'm just gonna make out of this team. Like, I'm gonna walk out the door and today's the day. Like, and I would bring that intensity every day. And I think by the time I got to the trials, I was cooked, and then I had a hard time recovering. And then I went back to another marathon segment and was hurt. So I was much more patient and relaxed in this one, and I think that if I'm fortunate enough to get on the team, that will, you know, help me through the next segment as well. So tough, but a great learning experience.
All right, and with that, I'm going to trade your mics for your bibs, and we're going to do a quick photo op.